Hello, hello. Mina here with some more magic. Today in the form of miniatures. Now, if you've been around for any length of time on this channel, you have probably noticed that there are some miniatures on these shelves that I have not mentioned before on this channel. I have mentioned them on Instagram, but not here on YouTube. And that's what I'm going to do today. It's time for an updated miniatures tour, and I'm going to take you on a little journey through all of the kits, both featured here and I have a couple elsewhere in this room, that I created last year throughout 2021. There are quite a few. Let's just jump into the video and we'll figure out how many there are along the way. All right, I hope you like this. Let's see those miniatures. This is a 90s flashback thing. I don't know why we're I guess we're flashing back to 2021. Okay, anyway. The second miniature that I made in 2021 was the kitchen set. Okay, a little bit of backstory. So if you've already seen my first miniatures tour video, and if you haven't, highly recommend it. I'll link it in a card up above and in the description below. If you've already seen that video though, spoiler alert, you'll know that I have already made a living room, bedroom, and bathroom set. Those 3 rooms are in a 1/12 scale. And I kind of assumed that most kits are 1/12 scale. That seems to be the most popular for miniatures. After I finished those rooms, I decided I wanted to find a kitchen, because growing up, one of the things I always wanted but never got was a dollhouse filled with like realistic looking miniatures. And I figured if I got a kitchen, then the 4 rooms that I would have in total would essentially make a dollhouse out of miniature rooms. I searched everywhere. Kitchens are few and far between. So when I found this one, I jumped. I ordered it, and it arrived, and wah, wah. Remember how I said the first 3 kits are a 1/12 scale? Yeah, this one is half that size. It's a 1/48 scale. So they're not compatible. I'm still on the lookout for a 1/12 scale dollhouse kitchen to complete my little house. Anyway, this one arrived, and I still wanted to make it, so I made it. Because it doesn't go with anything else, what I've ended up doing is I glued the dust cover in place, making this a permanently styled and decorated diorama. Everything is glued down and it will stay like this potentially forever. And I think that's pretty cool, because I haven't really done that with any of my kits yet. Okay, so the tour of the kitchen. This has had a lot of modification. I customized a lot, but I don't remember most of it because it's been over a year since I made it. So I'm just going to highlight the things that I remember. So when I got this kit, it was a pink, white, and gray color scheme. That I remember because the fridge was pink. I didn't like that color scheme. It was just too bright. Everything sort of washed into each other. I wanted something to pop. So I decided to go with this like tealy kind of color. I went with a lighter, almost minty color for the fridge, repainted that, and painted the back wall a darker teal. Oh, I put some pictures and stickers on the fridge as well to make it look like there's like magnets and artwork. The thing that sort of solidified what I was going to do with this diorama were these dolls. They're these teeny tiny, I think they're like 1.5 or 2 inches or something, little Disney princess dolls that came out of Kinder eggs. Okay, that's why I had to keep the dolls. Can you see the detail on Ariel's face? That is stunning at this size. Now, because the dolls are so tiny, there's only so much you can do with them. They aren't posable, bendable, redressable. I mean, Ariel's dress is like fused with her hair. But I really liked the idea of keeping these dolls in their ball gowns and putting them in the kitchen. The story that I made up for this little diorama is that Ariel and Cinderella had been out at the ball dancing all night long. They come home in the wee hours of the morning and they're just, exhausted from a night of revelry and boogieing. And before they can even change into their pajamas, they make it to the kitchen and they make breakfast. That's the story. So for that purpose, I made that little frying pan out of air dry clay, and those fried eggs were made with hot glue that was painted. And I also had to alter Ariel. If you recall, I mentioned that these are not posable dolls, and yet Ariel is sitting down. Well, I made a post about that over on my Instagram. Feel free to go check it out. It's rather interesting. I had to Frankenstein her, so I had to chop her legs apart and then make her new legs out of pipe cleaners with the feet sticking at the end so that she would sit, because otherwise they're not posable. And this is my absolute favorite part of the whole kit, the lighting. It's all contained. So underneath, there's the battery pack, and there's a little spot for it to sit. You can slide this in and out to replace the battery. And then a little light switch right there. I love that. The living room doesn't light up anymore. I hated that about the living room and the bedroom sets. The battery pack was just free floating. So anytime I would move the kits, even on the shelf that they live, to get to the battery pack to turn it on, it would pull the wires, and eventually the living room doesn't work anymore. I think I'm going to have to rewire that one. So this I like. Everything is neatly contained and I can move it around and I don't have to worry about the battery pack dangling. Nothing's pulling. And I can very easily turn on the light. I like that. The third kit that I completed in 2021 was the Tiny Witchy Library. Yes, we are zoomed in because there's my thumb for size comparison. This little magical library under a dome is the size of my thumb. I was not expecting that when I ordered this kit. I knew it was small, but I didn't know it was that small. Over a year later, I'm still blown away with it. It was really hard to make. It turned out really cute though, so I'm very happy with it. I don't know that I'll ever make a kit this small again. I will stay open to the possibility though. I love my miniatures, so you never know. I made this kit back in July of 2021, and I think it took me about a weekend. Mainly, it took that long because I had to wait for dry time for glue and paint and stuff. And I did not glue the dome down because I don't remove it often, but I like the option to remove the dome so I can admire my work without the glare occasionally. Now, as small as this kit is, yes, I did make a couple customizations. The main two that I did was for this little footstool. It was just a bead, much like the red one, but the red one can be like a jar or something. So seeing that little hole, it kind of fits with what it is. But to see that little bead hole in the footstool, it didn't look right. So I used a tiny bit of air dry clay and made a cushion of sorts for the footstool. And this book up here in the center, I used some nail polish to paint the spine purple, because you can never have enough purple. At least I can never have enough purple. It is my favorite color after all. I think I might have switched up some of the placement of things, but generally everything that was meant to be in this kit is in my completed work, in roughly the same spot. Maybe not exact, but in roughly the same spot. A quick tour, we have the bookshelf with all our books and potions there. A broom, a little witch's hat, a big comfy green chair with the aforementioned footstool. And then there's a bunch of bric-a-brac, some books and bottles, potion jars, spell papers and books. And then spinning it around, there's the stack of books with the candles on top, a crystal ball, some rolled up parchments, some more books and jars on the floor. And finally, a couple posters stuck on the side of the shelf. Not much to say about this one. It's very tiny. And I love it. The fourth kit I made was also completed in July, and it was the box theater. Self-contained in a little tin. And I picked this particular one because it's beach themed. It might not look completely done, but it is. So I'm just going to address the electronics in the room. This is the one flaw of this kit, and I have seen it remedied in other kits. It sucks that this one didn't come with the remedy, but anyway. This little area below is where obviously all the batteries and wiring and everything gets stored. This little sign is the perfect sign. It was designed to slip right into this little hole and hide all that until you want to pop it off, turn it on. The only problem is, in order to put this on, I have to move everything out of the way, which means that the switch gets buried. So if I want to turn it on, then I'd have to go digging around to pull the switch back out to turn it on. In the other kits that I've seen since building this one, I've noticed that they've put another little hole where the switch can come out and sort of permanently stay beside the sign. Sadly, that's not the case with this one. So I keep the sign. Maybe one day I'll fix it. But for now, that just kind of free floats in the kit so I can reach the switch, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so on this side, instead of just the plain tin cover, the kit came with this lovely little picture with a little story and some embellishments. The best part of the kit, though, is on this side, obviously. Above water, there's a little beach, a beach house, a bunch of plant life. There's a little bunny. I've put her on a beach blanket on the sand. And then over on the acetate water is the other little bunny in the boat. He's fishing. And oh, he caught himself a fish. The underwater scene, so you can see the beach that the bunny above is sitting on is like a rocky outcropping under the water. And then there's just an explosion of plant life and bubbles, a little treasure chest and some little treasures, a little piece of beach glass, which I had to add in there. And this is the best part. We flip the switch and it lights up. So there's the white light at the top and a colored light at the bottom. With the light on in the beach house, you can kind of see the scene inside. It's just sort of implied, but you can see sort of a bedroom on the top floor, a kitchen in that window, and like a couch or something at the door there. Under the sea, the light cycles through rainbow colors. I could stare at that all day. Sorry about that. I zoned out there for a second. I think that's really cool. And when the light's on under the water, I find that the bubble beads look less like beads and more like bubbles. The biggest kit that I completed in 2021 was the Loft. I first saw these kits in 2020 and really wanted one because this is it. This is a dollhouse fully contained. It's got everything. There's the kitchen and the dining room and the living room and the bedroom, and so this part right here that's pink with the floral like rice paper, that's implied to be the bathroom. So everything is right there. They're pretty pricey though, so I hummed and hawed, and it probably took about 10 months before I finally decided, okay, that's it, I'm getting one. This is the one I chose. This one I started towards the end of July, and it took me until the end of August to finish. Okay, so how I started making this kit is I started back here in the corner because it was easier to build the kitchen before I built the upstairs. So I started there first. It's kind of spoopy, and I did that on purpose because way back in there, there's a little box that looks like a jack-o'-lantern, and then that's like a milk jug that looks like Frankenstein's monster. So I don't know if they meant to go with like a Halloween feel, but I decided to just run with it. The tiles on the wall are kind of like an orange color. The fridge is kind of an orange color, so I just ran with it. The next room I made was the dining room. Check out that beauty. I can't remember what the materials were that I was supposed to use to make the cake, but I totally went off script and I made my own from scratch. So for the cake itself, I used felt to give it that like baked, crumbly kind of texture. And then the frosting both inside and on top is air dry clay that I mixed to make like a brown color to make it look like chocolate. And then the little cherries are air dry clay as well. Okay, and then the next room that I made was the living room. I sort of kept everything on the main floor first and then worked up. So in the living room, I don't remember the changes I made except, the bowl on the table. I don't remember what was supposed to be in here. I think it was supposed to be like fruit or something. But I went with beach glass instead because it's kind of become a tradition for me to sneak beach glass into my miniatures as often as I can. The pictures. So these were just pictures with, I can't remember what the backgrounds are. They're just like outdoor scenes, but I found them a little boring. So I used nail stickers to make it look like they're photographs that were taken of Sailor Moon and Sailors Mars and Venus. This here is implied to be the bathroom. And if you get close, it kind of looks like an empty room. Like you can kind of see the shadow of the floor and the wall. And that's my one regret with this room. I wish I had glued this fabric paper stuff on top of like white paper so that it wouldn't look like an empty room. It would look more like a frosted glass door or something, because that's supposed to be the bathroom. That's what it's implied to be. So that's my only regret. And then we have these stairs that goes up to the second floor. There's a little closet and like a little work nook. This right here is the reason that I bought this particular kit, because of the cat headboard. I thought it was so cute. But then, so I was thinking this would be like cat themed, and nope, the blanket has a bunny on it. That's how it came. This was all over the place. I tried to make it a little more cohesive, but I also ran with the weirdness. This little bunny, speaking of bunnies, this tiny little bunny is completely me-made. This is a little change that I put into the kit, as well as this little bunny bed and this little like wooden straw chew toy thing. Oh, this was something I changed. I almost forgot about that. These lace curtains, this lace, if I remember correctly, was actually supposed to be the blanket on the couch. And this fabric was supposed to be the curtain in the bedroom. This fabric would have made nice curtains, but this lace does not make sense as a blanket. That wouldn't be warm at all. To me, it made more sense as a curtain. So I switched their places. I made the blanket a curtain and the curtain a blanket. Oh, and this is just a little eraser, unicorn shaped, that I keep in here just because I think it looks cute. It didn't come with the kit though. And there's the bookshelf with some little knickknacks and books. Yes, you have seen lights because so if we, ooh, this I think is pretty cool too. Look, it's a window. I like those windows. If we flip this around, I like that the little battery box in here is in its own little housing. It's still a little tricky to get at though. And we can flip this switch and ta-da! So that's what the loft looks like when it's all lit up. And you can see the kitchen a little bit better. See what I mean by the jack-o'-lantern box and this Frankenstein's monster milk jug looking thing. So that's why I went kind of Halloween in the kitchen. Oh, I love this kit. This one makes me so happy. The last miniature that I made in 2021 was my, wait, a chocolate box? But this isn't a miniature. Or is it? Okay, for those of you who have already seen my first miniatures tour video, this will have come as no surprise. Because you'll remember this, the smaller version. I had so much fun making this one, which, if you're not sure what it is, I highly recommend seeing that first video because that's where I showed this one off. But anyway, I had so much fun making this one that I decided to try a larger version. This was a chocolate box. There were chocolates in it, but now that they're gone, we remove the lid to reveal a haunted dollhouse. Eee! I am so proud of this build. This was the build that took me the longest last year. I started it sometime in September, and I didn't finish it until about the middle of November. So it took me about 2 months. Part of the reason was because I had no idea what I was doing. This is not a kit. This I totally made up in my head. And because I wasn't sure what I was putting where, I had to basically like engineer this house. And yeah, it was a lot. This is the most complicated dollhouse that I've ever made. And it took me for a ride. But oh, what a journey. And it was, oh, the destination was so worth it because this is, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I have not opened this in at least a couple months, and I have forgotten how much I love this. I can barely hold it together. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm reminded of how much I love this. Okay, enough gushing. Let's go for the tour. I started this little house in the bottom corner with what I ended up turning into a witch-inspired kitchen. So each of the rooms is kind of inspired by something Halloween-y, spooky. And for the kitchen, it's a witch. Because I thought, potion bottles, herbs, spells made the most sense in the kitchen. And because this box was essentially garbage, everything inside is essentially made out of garbage. This is all stuff that would have been thrown away. So like the herbs and the plants are leftover paper plants from previous kits. Same with like the beads that I used for the potion bottles and for the lights on the chandelier. Those were all leftover from various kits. The fireplace, I'm particularly proud of that fireplace. I can't remember where I saw it, but I was inspired by a tutorial that I came across. Someone else was making miniatures and had used egg carton for brick. And I thought, that sounds awesome. I tried it, and it is awesome. So these bricks are made out of egg carton that were cut into pieces, and I weathered it with some black paint to bulk up the fireplace and give it that 3D look. That's foam underneath that I've glued the egg carton bricks onto. I hollowed out the inside to make the inside of the fireplace. The cauldron is made of leftover air dry clay from my Baby Yoda project and wire from miniature kits. And if you haven't already seen, my potion book. It's just a little book that I made. And yes, I scribbled inside so it looks like it has writing. Like there's actually spells written inside the potion book. So we'll move on to the second room that I did, which is kind of like a vampire-inspired gothic living room, entry, library kind of thing. The focus of this room is obviously this gorgeous hooded crow chair. I think it's so pretty. With some leftover purple velvet fabric for the cushion, and actually the inside of the hood there too. The crow itself was made with more of that air dry clay and then kind of antiqued and bronzed with paint. The books, they're basically just the spines. I used different sizes of doweling and toothpicks, painted up to look like books for that. The lamp was a bead that I painted for something else, and it ended up not working for that something else, so I put it in here for the lamp. The stairs, oh, I'm so proud of these stairs. They were really tricky to figure out, but when I figured out all the angles and everything, I made the stairs using the inside of a jewelry box. So it's that like a black velvet covered cardboard. The wallpaper in this room is a sticker wrapper from a candle. The front door opens and closes. We'll go outside later. The next room that got finished was the bathroom. Again, I was kind of going for like a gothic, murdery feel. And okay, right off the bat, this obviously is paint, and it's not meant to necessarily be blood. The tub and the sink. It could be, but it could also be hair dye. Because with this kit, I have also included this little doll. My mother-in-law found her for me. She was originally painted up to be a little milkmaid, but I gave her a witchy makeover. So she's all black and purple now with red hair. And I used the same paint on her hair that I used for the, is it blood? Is it hair dye? We may never know. Because I don't necessarily like things that are horrifying so much as cute, spooky. So this could be horrifying, or it could be completely innocent. And I think that's kind of cool. Okay, so what else have we got? Oh, I love the walls. They're kind of this like gilded gold. And I believe that was a chocolate bar wrapper, if I remember correctly. Everything that's sculpted, like the sink and the bathtub and the mirror frame and the lamp, that's all done with air dry clay. At first, I was not happy with how the paint crackled on the tub. I did not do that on purpose. But since it is supposed to be kind of old and potentially haunted, I think that actually works out really, really nicely. And the windows on the inside, so like the bathroom window and the kitchen window, those are cut out from a calendar. Oh, and then the next room I did was the bedroom. Again, it's kind of gothic. I was going for like a Victorian, old haunted house kind of look. In here, everything, of course, is purple because purple's the best. I think, is that called wainscoting? I think that's called wainscoting. Either way, like the little frames to just give it a little bit more, a little something. And I chose to do a 4-post bed, of course, with sharp posts and curtains. And there's some windows in the bedroom, one that you can't really see behind the bed, and one up at the top. And these have acetate in them from some packaging to give them a glass look. They went in a little messy, but that ended up being a good thing. So there was some glue that got like gooped on the acetate, and it gives the windows kind of a dirty, frosted look. And then, of course, I have my tissue paper ghost flying through the air there. The last room I put in was the attic. I have always wanted an attic space like this, a place that I could go up and explore and play, and there would be like family treasures. I've never lived in a house with a big enough attic that it could actually be used for storage. What do we do when we want to have something in a house, but we don't have it in an actual house? We build a tiny house and put those features in that tiny house. At least that's what I do with miniatures. Boxes, a picture frame, a felt rug. I made a little sewing mannequin out of air dry clay and just some spare junk bits. A little bare bulb, hanging light. I don't know where that chain came from, but just like a little spare bit of chain. The bulb I made out of hot glue. It's just hot glue that I formed into a bulb shape after it cooled down enough to not scald my fingers. And I couldn't think of what to make the attic spooky. Because, I mean, technically the ghost kind of lives in both spaces. So I put a little monster paw coming out of one of the boxes. As if, like, there's a monster in the attic. And then the last part of the house, I decided I wanted an outside. I didn't want just the house in the box. I wanted a little outside area as well. Partly because I really like this background. This came from a calendar, and I really like the sunset. Made a little graveyard scene and kind of like misted it over so it would look like it was in the distance. And a little piece of felt that I've roughed up for the grass. The trees are actually sticks and a little derpy pipe cleaner squirrel, because why not? The outside of the house, there you can see there's the window behind the bed and then the window up at the top. I used the egg carton bricks for the outside of the house as well. They're a little bit cleaner than the fireplace, just because by this point I was getting tired of the process. It was so difficult. Down here at the front door is another little light that I made the shade of with hot glue. I made a little tinfoil mold. I do not recommend making a tinfoil mold. That burned my fingers because obviously tinfoil is a metal and it's a conductor and it got really hot, but I did that. And there's a little bead inside for a light bulb. So yeah, this one was really, really difficult because, like I said, I kind of had to engineer it as I went. It was a process. But I am extremely proud of it now that it's done. And the best part is when I'm done with it, I don't have to worry about dusting it because, ooh, that would be so difficult to dust with all the loose little bits that could break off. I just put the lid on and it's protected. Hello again. Okay, now the miniatures that you just saw weren't all of the miniatures that I completed in 2021. There was actually, this was my first one, completed in January of 2021. I featured this in my first miniatures tour, so if you want to see what's in here, then you'll have to go and look at that video, which once again was linked up above earlier and also in the description below. So I highly recommend that you check out my first miniatures tour, not just to see what I made last time, but also to find out what my first 2021 miniature was. And yeah, that's all the miniatures from 2021. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for giving me your time today, lovelies, and letting me show off my collection. It makes me happy. It makes me feel like I'm controlling things when things feel out of control, which is probably why I made so many last year, because whoo, that was a year out of control. Anyway, one of many. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, toodaloo, stay safe, love you, bye! This is not supposed to happen. All right then.